The Tuskegee Airmen, the sky is the limit. Mrs. Grayson is excited about bringing her class to the school library. This is the first time that they get to choose their own subjects for their history reports. She wants to see what they will write about. As Mrs. Holmes, the librarian, comes up, she tells them that there is a new area in the library that will help them with their reports. Mrs. Holmes walks over to the new area and continues to say, "These are the heritage teleporters. I have tested them out and they are awesome." She explains that the heritage teleporters use virtual reality to allow you to learn about people or places in history. She asks for 4 students to try the teleporters out. Jayla, Elijah, Caden, and Carson immediately sat down and put on their virtual reality headsets. Mrs. Grayson reminds her other students in the library that they have to be very quiet as they find books to complete their history reports. She also tells them that they will be able to use the teleporter soon. Mrs. Holmes focuses on the 4 students in her area. She gives them some mini tablets and tells them to type what they want to research in them. When they finish searching, they can touch the button on the side of the tablet to turn the teleporters off. Elijah types the Tuskegee Airmen into the tablet. All of a sudden, there are bright lights in the VR headset and he can see himself being teleported. "This is amazing," Elijah thought. He was taken to the year 1942 at the Tuskegee Institute on Moton Field to the Civilian Pilot Training Program. This program was sometimes called the Tuskegee Experiment. The program allowed Black men to learn how to fly and use combat aircraft fighting methods to help in World War II. Elijah joined the soldiers in the classroom to learn about different types of airplanes and flight patterns. He also learned that due to a military report that stated that they were too scared, no Black soldiers were trained as pilots. Community groups went to court to force the government to put the pilot program into action. At that time, Black and white people didn't go to school together or live in the same neighborhoods. They were separate, even in the armed forces. This is called segregation. 7 years after the Tuskegee experiment began, President Truman signed a law to stop segregation in the U.S. military. The instructors told them that although they had completed the pilot training and performed great on the flight exercises, that the other pilots didn't want to work with them. He wanted them to know that they had performed equal to or better than the other armed service units on these same operations. Elijah learned that the Tuskegee Airmen, sometimes called the Red Tails because they put red paint on the tails of their planes, had flown over 15,000 individual missions during the war. Sometimes they flew almost 3 times more than the other pilots before they were allowed to rotate out for a break. He listened while the flight instructor encouraged the pilots not to let anyone make them doubt themselves because of their skin color or anything else. The instructor said, "The sky is the limit to what you can do. That means you can do anything. Don't limit yourself." Their contributions helped to win World War II. They later received a group Congressional Gold Medal for their service. Although anyone that served at Tuskegee Airfield from 1941 to 1949 was considered one of the Tuskegee Airmen, the main focus of the program was the pilots. Their anniversary is celebrated on the 4th Thursday of March, the day that President Roosevelt started the fighter squadron. After learning about the Tuskegee Airmen, Elijah touches the side of his tablet and the teleporter turns off. Mrs. Holmes says to Elijah, "I see that you have taken off your headset. Did you enjoy the Heritage Teleporter experience? Did you get a lot of information for your report?" Elijah answers, "I sure did. It is fun to learn through virtual reality. I got so much information for my report." Elijah wrote a 2-page report about the Tuskegee Airmen. The Tuskegee Airmen. The Tuskegee Airmen were Black World War II pilots who trained at the Tuskegee Institute on Moton Field. An earlier report from the military stated that Black people were too scared to scout or patrol, so they weren't allowed to be pilots in the Army. Some community groups went to court to get the government to start the Civil Pilot Training Program, which is also called the Tuskegee Experiment, so black men could learn to fly. It was a time in history when black and white people didn't go to school together or live in the same neighborhoods like we do today. Even though they were fighting in the same war for the same side, they were separated. This is called segregation. Instructors pushed them to always do their best, and others would get to see how good they were. They gained a lot of trust in the war. They also ended up with a great fighting record and flew lots of missions. For their help in winning World War II, they received a group Congressional Gold Medal. In 1948, the president ended segregation in the military. One of the instructors told the pilots that the sky was the limit to what they could do. That means that there are no limits. He told them that they could do anything. It's the same for us today. We need to always do our best and not let anyone make us doubt ourselves. The sky is the limit to what I can do. I can do anything. Be sure to pair "The Sky is the Limit, I Can Do Anything" t-shirt with your book. Go to blackheritagehub.store and purchase one today.